Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric Ellis. How's it going, my friend?
Good morning, Tommy Lewis. How are you, man?
Doing well, doing well. I'm not doing as well as you are, but but we're doing
yes,
well.
sir. I am calling in from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands with my family, Tommy, man, and we've been here all week and just having a ball. I'm going to show you a couple pictures, videos here in just a second, but man, we're having a great time.
Oh, that's great. It's great to get away, Eric. You know how hard we work, and we sow a lot of seeds. Those seeds grow, and we want to take advantage of the fruition of those seeds, just like everyone. And part of it, and I know we're going to talk about today, but just laughing, man. We just got to laugh,
Right.
and smile, and push out that positive energy and attract positive energy. But it's great to talk
That's
with you
right.
today.
That's right. You know, I grew up, Tommy, in a family that didn't really take vacations other than to go to grandma's house. And so that's all I knew. My wife introduced me to vacations. And when she first took me, I mean, we went on our first one, I was like, I could have bought a couch with this or a big screen TV back in the, 90s and whatnot. But I've come to appreciate these experiences. And what I have found most powerful about a vacation, Tommy, is that the places that we go, the things that we admire most are the things that are created by God.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not about buying things or the restaurants you eat at. It's really what you're able to see. And when you see some of the creations that God has made, that really, man, is what a vacation ultimately constitutes for us.
Yeah, I would agree, Eric. These uh, God-made phenomenons, miracles, they are awesome. Literally, there are some places I've been, and of course you've been, that when we see, landscapes, we just see how the earth is twisted as to prepare and help human beings and animals and mankind and things like that. This earth is awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, from water to land to forest, trees, even the ocean. The ocean is not a little pond. It's not a little creek. And when you're on the ocean on a cruise liner or you're flying over it to get to your destination, I can feel and see the weight of the ocean and its vastness. And that's where the blessings, are appreciated.
Right. Tommy, let's talk about your week, man. How was your week?
Yeah, this week has been another good week, Eric. From the on the administrative side, Eric, we were, having to not create, but we are actually having to complete a number of reports. So we do a lot of the training, assessments, and things of that nature. And this week they were all due, right? So we were back
Yes,
in
sir.
school again, and some of us were pulling our hairs out. I pulled all my hair out, and others, less than that. But just really making sure that our reporting, our findings, the recommendations really bring value to our clients and our partners. At the same time, Eric, we received, I would like to say, about 5 calls out of the blue
Okay.
from referrals, right? From people in the audience of one of our trainings and consulting sessions. They've run out to another person in another organization, and those people were calling us, and it wasn't even a sale. It was, we heard that you all have a great approach, you do great work in this space. And what people are really kind of tooting our horn about, Eric, is that we never shame, blame, or victimize our partners and participants. Never do that, right? We don't yell at them, none of that. We just walk them in this journey. And 5 organizations called us and said, "We heard that your style at Make It Plain is palatable, right? And it's
Right.
safe. So yeah,
Right.
it's safe. We challenge you, but it's safe." And so that was our week of blessing that we have to prepare for as well. So it's been a great week, Eric.
Well, that's good to hear, Tommy. I'm always glad to hear that, man. And you and I have very similar beliefs around the approach to this work, man. That you want to challenge people, but people have to enjoy the experience, man,
Yeah.
because we're all on this journey. So we're not trying to just blame and shame anybody. We're trying to help them to identify both their strengths, gaps that they need to close. But there's no reason why we can't enjoy doing that together, because as people are engaged in sort of experience that enlighten, that
Yep.
inform, that give them insight, man, that's an exciting place to be. If you create that psychological safety that you're talking about. So this week, man, I as an entrepreneur, we can never just take a vacation.
Right.
So every morning I've been busy working, man, and doing some work with this search that we're doing for the Americans for the Arts, trying to identify that vice president of communication. Wonderful candidates there. That's been exciting. Also doing, preparing to do a leadership session with Louisville Water next week. And so, just trying to get all the prep material to all the leaders that we're working with. We'd like to get that to them a week ahead of time, so we give them some chances. And one of the things that we've done here, Tommy, is we've created websites for our clients for all the materials that we've ever sort of presented to them. And so we present them like 4 folders, sort of the Achieving Sustainable Inclusion structural foundational folder that has all of our foundational information that we've presented, the 3 phases of inclusion, the 4 pillars of inclusion. And then we have a second folder that provides them with all the training information provided by month of May. We've got both the slides and the provided for them in one folder. In the third folder, we have sort of the research and all the findings, all the data, and all the diversity strategy work that we've done so that they can review that. And then the fourth folder has the employee development stuff and our core council information. So just excited to be able to deliver that to a client so that they're prepared. So when we come to meet with them next week, that they will have had ample time to sort of, refresh in their mind some of the things and I'll point out things like sometimes we've done videos that sort of gave people an overview of our work. So like it's an 8-minute video. So if you don't have time to go through all these things, just look at this one video and you'll pretty much get caught up to speed. So really excited about that, man. And the last thing I'll do is sort of come back to the vacation before we launch to is humor in the workplace dead? And certainly you and I don't think so, but we need to talk about that to help people sort of position how they think about humor in the workplace. We've got some of our community that's joined us. Some of them are hilarious. Yeah. And certainly we want them to weigh in with questions or tips that they might have. Brooke, why don't you bring up a couple of these videos that I've shot, just short videos to kind of show our community a little bit of what we're looking at here. This video that I shot of these mountains and ocean and boats that were out there. It's amazing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then this is where we're staying. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking at right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's just really, really, really gorgeous. And I'm thankful to my family, to my wife, and to God for allowing us to do that. That's the picture of the 4 of us that are here. Yes. My wife's sitting next to my youngest, Ethan, who's taller than everybody. And then Jillian and I are there, and we're just sort of standing at the top of a mountain which overlooks the rest of the island. Man, it's just gorgeous. So
Yeah, yeah, Eric. Again, congratulations on this, and I don't know if congratulations is the right term, um, but I would just say great for you and the family. Um, I
yeah,
have been my family vacationed often, uh, and maybe every 3 to 4 years we would go out of state. We didn't necessarily go out of country, but we
right,
would go out of state. And so I've learned, from my parents how to kind of navigate a vacation such that you don't have to have a vacation after the vacation.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, because if you don't navigate a vacation well, it can be stressful. You get into that, after the third or fourth day, now you're at each other's, throats, if you will. Some things do not always go right, like the transportation, the meals, the excursions. They don't always go right, and that can be stressful. But when you navigate it well, you're on the top of the mountain every day smiling at God's blessing and laughing at each other, laughing at yourself, and saying, I can't wait to next year or next couple of months or whatever the case may be that I can get away again. Right.
right,
And that's what we
right.
work for. We work for those moments of joy.
That's right. That's exactly right, Tommy. I appreciate hearing that from you. Thank you, my friend. Hey, let's talk about this sort of workplace humor, Tommy. And I'd like to open up, just ask you about your thoughts and maybe even some of your experiences with the tricky angle of humor in the workplace. And I'll define humorous as causing or intended to cause laughter. So when we're seeking to sort of create laughter in some of the challenges that people are facing, and are those getting more difficult, would you say, in current times?
So one of the challenges in my mind, the top challenge is um, humor and being funny. It's literally in the eyes of the beholder. In other words,
Right.
you may think you're funny, but
Right.
your jokes, punchlines, humor, it's not funny at all. It may be offensive,
Ooh.
hurtful, if not hiding a little bit of hate and bias.
Right.
So with humor, I've been in some situations, man, where the person either overt kind of slapstick humor or that dry
Right.
humor. They tried to be funny, and the timing wasn't appropriate. The joke wasn't. It was inappropriate and
Right.
insensitive, and it blew up. Right. So in those cases, um, either the joke is delivered and there's crickets, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Or the joke is delivered and there's that awkward silence, I mean, or even just that awkward laugh. But at the end of the day, the challenge with humor is understanding your audience, understanding the timing, right, for said joke, for said interjection of humor, and then understanding what humor is, that is to create laughter. So if there's a joke that does not create laughter, it's not funny. And,
Right.
and the person or people that's trying to deliver that joke needs to pick up on those cues and also needs to come back. And, if it's not funny uh, and it lands badly, it bombs, as comedians say. When that joke bombs, it just accept that peel of feedback. So, got to be sensitive, got to be very uh, very aware,
Right.
very aware of your surroundings before you throw out a couple of punchlines, etc.
Right. And I would say, Tommy, you start cringing when you hear people start like, have you heard the one? When, oh, no.
Oh,
Don't start with, have you heard the one? Because we know what all that, man. No, it's groups and it's some kind of, so it's going to be at somebody's expense. So I would say, don't ever give punchline jokes, have you heard the one?
Right.
That's just going to be a mess. And there are some powerfully positive things that humor can do in the workplace. And I think that that's important as well. But sometimes it can create a hostile environment. Yeah. And what we'd like to do is sort of share some of the positive elements of humor and what they add to a team, if you will. And maybe even, Tommy, provide people with some tips around things that they might be able to do. The research shows that leaders with any sense of humor are seen as 27% more motivating and admired than those joker. So although we think about work as this place that you come with furrowed eyebrows, where, man, people aren't going for that anymore.
Right.
Really, people want working in a fun workplace. Fun, enjoyable, filled with laughter. But laughter means we're all having fun. And so that's got to be then, sometimes it's built on a relationship when you have some relationships that can help you. What do you have to say, Tommy, about leaders that you've worked with that tend to be humorous and how they've been to work with as a client? When it goes well, how do they seem to, how do their people seem to respond to them?
Yeah, Eric, I've actually been very, very blessed and privileged to work with, in my opinion, some very, very funny people as leaders, all the way up to board chairs and right. Presidents, etc. With that being said, I have to shout out someone, right? I have a friend, a former boss in two different capacities. One capacity, he was my boss at Inroads. And then in another capacity, he was my boss at Convergence Corporation. This guy, before I say his name, this man was funny, right? His intelligence, his wit, his timing. I'm laughing right now because I'm just thinking about him. And if he's not watching the show, he'll watch the show later. Anthony Jones. We called him AJ. And AJ, he was hilarious. First of all, our senses of humor were the same. We laughed at the same things. Our context on information and material was the same, from cartoons to certain cars and automobiles to commercials to certain events, world events, local events, experiences. They were pretty similar. So sometimes jokes would compound on each other. There was a joke that just kept going. And what that would do is that would kind of, it would decrease stress and tension, Eric, right? That although our work was very, very serious, it was high stress, high tension, in often cases, high conflict, that the humor would break that ice of tension, right? Now, with that being said, this guy was so funny. AJ was so funny to me that sometimes he would call me into his office and he'll start on the assignment, the task, and then he'll start to go into a joke. And I knew that the joke would land so well, not badly, so well that we will be doubled over in humor. Our guts would be hurting. And once he realized that he had you with a gut punch joke, he will pile on joke after joke after joke. And then 30 minutes later, we're still laughing. I got to work. I got to go back to work. It was the best times. And other people around the office, they would hear people laughing because of his jokes, his humor. And then ultimately, as he transitioned, Eric, people did not realize and appreciate how much value he truly brought to the environment. It wasn't always his intellect, right? It wasn't his ability to do his job. Sure, that was a given. It was that little leadership presence that always elevated people, brought them out of the mess. And man, I miss that so much. I call him every now and again just to laugh, just to laugh. So hey, that's my story. Anthony Jones, some of you are familiar with him. AJ, I love this brother to death. It is definitely my brother. And he had a joke for everything, right? And
Yeah.
everyone. Always takes
We'll
me
have
to
to
always.
have we'll have to have AJ on sometime, man, because I agree with you. Super funny guy. Terry says that humor can lighten your load, but your timing has to be right. Terry, if you want to say some more about that, Terry's the funniest guy I know, man. And when we were in college together, we were roommates. And I'll never forget, he would just come up with crazy things that would crack you up. His mind was just always thinking, seeing the world differently. And so we were going entering our dorm, and he told me, he said, Eric, just wait down the hall. He said, I want you to tell me how you would feel if something like this happened. Like if you came in to, coming into the hallway to your room and somebody was trying to get in your door and then they start just running at you and he just would take off running at you. You was like, oh my goodness, you could just, I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, like you catching the burglar, but instead of the burglar running away, they start running at you like all fast. Your heart start racing. And I just fell on the ground laughing because it's unexpected. And that's what humor does, is it just sort of what goes up, it comes down, and he would just do that over and over and over again. His body was funny, his face was funny, his tone of voice was funny, and his mind was brilliant. And I would say, Tommy, that's one of the things that's underestimated about great comedians is how brilliant they are. They're smart, because you can't really land a joke or bring laughter if you're not thoughtful about how the world operates.
Right. You're spot on, Eric. You listen to the great comedians, and I don't want to mistake in this conversation of humor and being a comedian, right? At work, right? Some people try to be comedians, but stick to your day job, right? Do the accounting, right? But then there's the sense of humor. Those of us who absolutely see the joy, the laughter, the humor in events and situations. But to T. Cooley's point, the timing has to be right. The timing has to be right. I have another golf buddy named Brian. He's an attorney, very smart guy. I love the way he thinks. I don't know if it's training or nature or both, but he's very intelligent to me. Very dry sense of humor.
Right.
He is hilarious to me because you have to listen to him. You have to listen to him. And out on the golf course, as well as in the workplace, there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of boo-boos. And in my mind, we all saw it, right? On the golf course, we saw how you hit it. In the office, we saw how you tripped. Not that tripping is always funny, but we saw that humor and that timing when someone says, just calls it out, right? You know, that's what's up. Yesterday, my administrator had to step away from the office to have a regular eye check, right? And the day before, she said, Tommy, just so you know, tomorrow morning I'm going to come into the office and then I'll leave for a moment to go get my eyes checked. And I was like, you haven't been able to see all this time you've been working for us, right? And I said it in a serious tone with a serious face, and I saw her working like, is he serious? Right. And then when she realized I was playing, I was joking, it made her laugh, and to the point that my administrator, Nicole Keith, she has a beautiful smile and a beautiful, contagious laugh. And sometimes it's just the two of us or a few people in the office. And so I don't always get to see the smile and hear the laugh, but it's contagious.
Right.
To the point that we need to do more laughing in the office, Eric.
Right. Yeah. I'll say things like, so when I want to sit around and talk to my team, sometimes I come into their environments like nobody's working.
Yeah.
And I just sit I started telling the story. I said, "Oh, I guess the boss better go back in his office and get some work done, right? Please." And everybody just busts out laughing, like, I was wondering when you was gonna realize that I'm really trying to get my stuff done. So you have to be able to laugh at yourself. And it's funny when you notice, you there talking and everybody's trying to humor you, but they really like, So that's hilarious. And then Duran says it's got to be uplifting to everyone. I think that's great. Research also says that leaders that are humorous, their employees are 15% more engaged, and their teams are more than twice as likely to solve a creativity challenge. Why is that, Tommy? Why do you think that their teams are twice as likely to solve creative challenges?
So from the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, HBDI, it's a whole brain assessment of a person's personality. And we use, human beings, we use different hemispheres of our brain. And research, the why, says that humor and laughter really triggers different neurons. It triggers some creativity and innovation neurons. It triggers endorphins that move us into not flight, right, or fight, but a space of elevation, right? So it's important to infuse humor in the workplace such that we are firing our minds into a space of openness, into imagination, literally into dreaming. There are complete businesses, Eric, that have leveraged that innovation. Disney, DreamWorks, right? Even Google. Those are dreams, ideas that's come up and come out of the minds of people who have failed many times. But then when humor is interjected, it allows us to be more open to not only creativity, but even open to failure, that we learn faster, right? That we can move away from the tree and say, wow, did everybody see I made that mistake? Like, yeah, we all did. I saw it, we saw it, whatever. Wait a minute. Let's back up here. And as we back up, we see an opportunity. We see a door. We see a window. We see a pathway toward innovation in that. And that's what humor does. Right. And humor also, again, helps us really deal with failure so that we can create the moment of joy and success in the future. Yeah,
right.
Humor is great.
Right. I have shared this example before, but I had a situation one time a few years ago where I asked one staff person to do an assignment. Tommy, I don't know if you've ever done this, and I got nervous. And so I asked another staff to do the same thing.
Yep.
And before I knew it, they were kind of in conflict a little bit. And I had to say, hold up, y'all. Let me apologize. This conflict is not your issue, it's mine. I asked you to do an assignment, then I got nervous and I know it was dumb, but I asked you to do the same assignment. Are there other dumb things like that I do? Oh man, they start weighing in like, yeah. And I mean, they just start going in, man, with extra insight.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what I find, Tommy, is that when you laugh at yourself, even when it's around a serious thing, number one, you take the blame off of them, off your team. You put it where it rightfully should be. And the leader's shoulders are broad enough to take criticism. Oh, yeah. And I think as we open ourselves up to lively, funny criticism, it allows people to it's a pathway that allows people to get you some things that you may not get any other way. Because people, I don't care how, open you and I might feel we are, sometimes just being the boss can be intimidating. But when you open up a pathway through humor for people to give you some helpful feedback, man, I take note on that and say, wow, I'm so glad they said that to me. Because it's not like it's out of the blue. It's connected to something oftentimes I've heard before.
Yeah.
So just really find that as powerfully valuable.
I agree, Eric. I will share with you that when I was with Inroads, I was in a blessed situation to be able to help younger people in their careers, in their navigation of their college careers as well, graduate and then move forward. Many of which are tremendously successful from my definition. You know, their definition may be different, but I look at them now like, man, most of them that I'm in contact with, they're doing it, right? And so when they were in Inroads and I was working for Inroads as their specialist, I was very serious about their success. And one year we had a trip in Inroads. It was this kind of a leadership conference, a regional leadership conference where the interns would come together. And we had to board a boat, I'm sorry, a bus to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania from Cincinnati. And this brother that we're going to have on the show, his name is Mike Steele. He decided to begin to roast me, right? To mock me. Eric, it was the funniest thing I've heard.
Right.
Everything he said, and then all the other interns started to pile in, and they started to talk about these Tommy Lewis nuances, how I speak, how I walk, my phrases, right?
Right.
All this stuff. And I'm listening to myself, right? Like, this is hilarious.
Right.
They were roasting me. They were roasting me. And to your point, a real leader who can accept, humor, even a mirror of themselves,
That's right.
is a good leader, I think. Not calling myself a good leader, but I heard it. I'm like, I actually enjoyed it, to be honest. I would like to have a roast. I'm even thinking about a roast right now, Eric, for myself or other people, to bring friends, bring people together, and just say, let's laugh at you, laugh at each other, laugh at myself.
Right.
Laughter is a beautiful, beautiful blessing.
Yes, it is. Tommy, they say that when you are seeking to close a deal, that sometimes even awkward humor, sometimes can increase the likelihood of you closing the deal. So let's say you're getting ready to close the deal, and you say, in closing, I'd also like to say that if you say yes to this contract today, we'll just throw in all the through COVID from Amazon, we'll ship those to you for free, and it's like, okay,
Right.
But even that kind of dumb humor can drive up the likelihood, yes, 18%. And so there's something about humor, Tommy, that softens the pathways. It allows people to feel more trust in us. They say if you put strangers together and let them have a 5-minute conversation, sort of just laughing together, and then ask them to have sort of an intimate conversation afterwards, it drives up the level of depth by 30% just by having people laugh together. So, Tommy, I just think that this is something powerful that we need to encourage in society, because right now, man, we are so stressed out. We have to find a way to laugh together, to cry and love together. I think laughter is just food for the soul.
Yeah, Eric, I've been using laughter, humor, in more and more sales calls, client development opportunities, etc. I've been doing all of that, and humor is always around me, even as we speak right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's always a great opportunity. And the reason why I use humor as well is that, um, one, it decreases stress in me because I'm trying to do the best job possible. And also for me, what I've learned, Eric, it humanizes the environment. People are people, and for those who are adulting is not always the greatest thing, right? We got to go to work, we have to pay bills, we have to have these responsibilities, and sometimes we want to be kids again, right? And so to to throw in the slapstick humor, the da or whatever. It's lightning to me, right? And then to get folks who you don't know and don't know you to laugh, that is beautiful. We do know that with regards to language, there are two languages that are universal: when people are crying and when people are laughing.
Wow.
I prefer the laughter, right?
I prefer to laugh too. So sometimes I'll be in a training session and I'll make a statement that, sometimes people of color, so I'm talking about stereotypes, and I'll say sometimes people of color get frustrated when they see or hear about white people going through a predominantly minority neighborhood and they're hitting the locks. I said, but sometimes we're doing the same kind of thing, but different. Like we won't hit the locks. We'll just slide our elbow over and just, hit the lock a little bit, almost hiding from ourselves that we're doing the same thing. And what it does, Tommy, is it takes a very deep concept around stereotypes and judgment, and it makes us all own how those stereotypes and judgments exist within us. So it takes a very deep teaching where sometimes you as a person of color can get on a high horse of judging others more harshly, but you're living in the same world affected by many of the same stereotypes. And owning that in a humorous way is sometimes a teaching technique that can be useful.
Eric, that was a very good point you just made. And as you were speaking, I'm thinking here, over the last few months, maybe even a year, in my work, in our work, I have been in front of audiences, and sometimes the space is not always appropriate for what we're trying to do. Sometimes they say, hey, we need an hour and a half, 2 hour training, and we're going to have about 75 people. And you get there and it's a closet, right? People are on top of one another.
Right.
Or it's an arena, right? And most recently, I had a great opportunity to work with a client. There was going to be about 50 people, maybe 75 tops, and we were in a 500-seat space. And folks that came in, they were sprinkled throughout the entire space. 2 here, 1 here, 3 here, 4 here, 1 here, 2 here. Man, I was talking to these onesies across the whole space.
Right.
I was asked, did I have a PowerPoint? I said, yes, I have about 4 or 5 slides. This will not be death by PowerPoint. So in the space, this auditorium that seated 500 people, only about 50 to 75 people in there, it was midnight black in there. The only thing you can see was the screen.
Right.
When I got to the podium that did not have a spotlight on the podium, I said to the folks, can you all see me?
You know they were going to lose it, man. Right.
Hey, because I couldn't see myself. Trust me, you couldn't see anything.
Right.
Right. And they start laughing. They had the awkward laugh because
right. Like, is this okay?
Yeah, is it okay? I'm a black man in the black shadow, and I'm asking, can you see me?
Right.
Right. I said, can you all see me? Got a couple of laughs. And I was like, because I can't see myself. Right. Where am I? Right.
Right.
And I called out another city. Right. Am I in St. Louis?
Right.
And everybody started laughing, and just like the comedian who travels around and doesn't pay attention to the city they're in, they say, hey, and they call out the wrong city, right? And that was at the beginning of the presentation. We were there to talk about racial incidents that have been happening.
Right.
And Eric, oh my goodness, I'm thinking about it right now because it was unplanned. Unbeknownst to myself and them, that timing and that sensitive humor, that appropriate humor, not insensitive, not inappropriate, that appropriate humor to say, I'm in the shadows. You can only see the screen. I can't see myself. I'm black. We're going to be talking about race, right? So there's some stereotypes There are some assumptions. There are some biases. We're going to talk about it. So let's have an off the cuff chat about talking about it. Let's make it plain.
Right.
That's how I name my company. It's make it plain, not make it worse,
That's right.
not make it difficult,
Right.
right? Not make it troublesome.
Right.
Let's make it plain. And let's call out this elephant in the room.
Right.
Right. And that's how we started the session. I got feedback a couple of days later that said that the staff, which was 100% Caucasian, 100%. I was the only person of color in that auditorium. They said they loved the session. Right. I took them through some self-exploration, etc. We had some laughs. And they were throwing some jokes out too, and they were funny. Right. Oh
Right.
man, it was great.
And I would say this, Tommy, less people get lost in it. You and I are not up in front of people shucking and jiving, and just making, no. See, here's the proof is in the pudding. In other words, if you throw out a piece of humor, sometimes that's either self-deprecating or sometimes that breaks the ice. If you utilize that humor as a bridge to transformational conversation, that's the key for us. What we're trying to do in a very short span of time is reduce the social distance between us and our audiences so that they might trust the process enough to then begin to become transparent around some of their limitations, some of their own biases, because they feel like it's safe to go into the water. If you and I go in like my friend Malcolm X with furrowed eyebrow and just fire and brimstone, then we get our thing off.
Yeah.
But ain't nothing generally coming back to us because people are afraid. They clam up and they say, I'm just not saying anything.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we show people that it's safe to come into these waters, and I'm going to stumble around in front of you. Sometimes I'm going to get it right. Sometimes I'm going to get it wrong. Sometimes I'm going to be thinking out loud, and that's going to be funny. And it says to the audience, I trust you all enough to try some things, to practice some things. It's going to be safe for you to trust me to share your honest perspectives around these.
Yeah, Eric, before you get into some more data points, I think that you have a wonderful sense of humor. I've obviously, I know you, I love you, you're my brother. We spend a lot of time together, but I've also have been with you when you're working, and we're serious about our work. I know you are, and I have seen you with tremendous sophistication weave in humor and tie it into a data point, have that person laugh and ponder at the same time. Choose one, right? I'm going to stay in the humor, get some more data points, stay in the humor, get another data point. And then the data points, the facts, the evidence piles up. They walk away with 10 data points all along, laughing like, yeah, and not even realize that they're learning.
Right.
Or they go right to a data point. Okay, I accept it, I reject it. If they reject it, they come back to challenge you. You challenge them back. You're challenging. Now it's steel sharpens steel. We go back into the humor, right? And activity, knowledge, skills building, awareness building, humor, skill. Man, Eric Ellis does this, I would say, probably better than anyone I know, right? I would honestly say that, better than anyone I know. And that's a telltale on a life lived and lessons learned.
Yeah.
Right. From books.
Yeah, because you have to have a graveyard to get to there. You're gonna have a graveyard. That means you're gonna step in it sometimes. It's gonna be like a misstep. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm trying to crawl, scramble to get back. And if you literally step in it, then Tommy, sometimes you got to come out of character and apologize. Say, oh my goodness, man, I'm sorry about that. We don't have too many of those mistakes that we can make. But sometimes to get it right, you will have made some mistakes over the years. But I love the sound of laughter, Tommy, because because it is juxtaposed up next to what people believe the experience talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to be like.
Yeah.
They think this is nothing but a torturous training or learning experience. And when you show them that we can laugh together, then we can learn together, and maybe we can decide to care about each other, Tommy. So I appreciate the way that you recognize how skillfully we're trying to interweave humor into insight.
Yes.
And it makes the traveling of insight more palatable when it's traveling through the pathway of humor. So Forbes magazine identified some tips. We've got just a few minutes left here. Let's see if I'm going to throw a couple of these out and then you talk about them, Tommy. Don't confuse being a leader with being a comedian. Leadership is job number one. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning before, right? So leadership has its own skills, abilities, competencies, and expectations. So at the end of the day, a leader who's leading people, leading an organization, they should end up in a better place than where we started, right? And so that leadership is really guiding people, leading people toward a destination. A comedian really identifies or acknowledges a past event, a current event, and brings humor to it, brings a levity to it, right? Basically, a pause. That's what comedians do. Let's pause and reflect. Now, wasn't that funny? Isn't this funny? It is, right? It's not really leading at the time. It's reflection.
Yeah,
it's reflection. So leadership is again moving forward, and we don't want to be a comedian. We just want to interject some humor, right? To pause, reflect, go forward. Pause, reflect, go forward. And so we don't want to mix those up, because we have some leaders who are awful comedians, and we have some fantastic comedians who cannot lead themselves.
Right. Okay, let me throw a couple at you. An attempt at bad humor is not an acceptable excuse for unacceptable behavior. Racist, sexist, ageist, and other forms of discriminating acts won't be tolerated because you attempted to cloak them with bad humor. Oh my goodness. How many times have we been called into organizations to help deal with situations like this?
I mean, almost all the time, man. If I've been on board meetings, I've been in other executive meetings. I'm talking about at the highest level.
Right.
And you have certain old guards, if you will, old heads.
Right.
Back in the day. And like you said earlier, Eric, they start with the, have you heard this joke? Right. And as they are delivering that, have you heard this joke, not only the cringes, but the, are you still in 1865?
Right.
But here's the thing, Eric. Ultimately, when people are saying or presenting or delivering these inappropriate, insensitive jokes, untimely jokes, it's actually in them, right? That bias, that offense, that prejudice, that discriminatory thought mindset, it's in them that they're trying to joke. And when one says, have you heard this joke? That joke has been shared in other audiences, other environments.
Right.
And it's gotten laughter. And so that group, one person out of that group then comes into another group. Have you heard this about the two, about the three? Right? That joke about the women, you've given that joke with all men. Now there's women in this environment. That joke is not funny. So we just want to, I would just say this, a tip. Eric, when we hear bad jokes, don't laugh.
Right.
When we hear a bad joke, correct it. Hey, that wasn't funny. Ouch. Was that intended to be funny? Yeah, it was a joke. Yeah, stick to your day job and hopefully you do that better. Right? I got a joke for you. Right.
And there's a wonderful video called Ouch that gives people things that you can do when somebody says something that's insensitive in the workplace. Sometimes you can just say, ouch, sometimes you can change the subject, you can walk away. You can understand that people, their intent may not have been negative, but talk to them about effect. how that could affect others. Sometimes they say that you can narrow the focus when somebody says something about a group of people. Are you talking about somebody in particular? Now all of a sudden it makes you have to, or you can broaden the focus. They say something about a group and you say, are you talking about, I think all people do that. So they may say something about one of our co-workers that works in Mexico. And they're saying something about them as a group. And they say, no, I don't think that's true about them. I think that's true about all the different countries and partners that we work with on occasion. So you can broaden it so that you sort of blunt. And then sometimes you do have the kind of relationship that you can just speak clearly to people around things, maybe not embarrassing them in front of folks. Because I think one of the things that we have to do as DEI leaders is try to avoid being too overly preachy. It's almost like the police officer that's your friend. Yep. And when you invite them to the party, then everybody gets silent. They don't want to talk. And the person's like, hold up, I'm a real person. So I think that we have to maintain our realness, the fact that we are real people, and we have to be careful not to put ourselves up on a pedestal. Yep. But it still is valuable to bring useful feedback to people in respectful ways.
Yeah, I agree, Eric. And just real quick as a follow-up is that when someone offers or delivers a bad joke in the workplace, regardless of their rank, file, position, relationship, all that good stuff, and you don't laugh or you don't find it funny, one tip that I have or one recommendation, suggestion is that sometimes when the person delivering the joke is given immediate feedback that their joke is not funny, it didn't land, they then turn the blame to you saying, well, you don't have a sense of humor, or they don't have a sense of humor. Don't accept that. Right? When they give you a bad joke and you say that wasn't funny, and they say, oh, where's your sense of humor? Laugh and live a little. Right? I do laugh at good jokes. I am living. So I would recommend, because I'm learning this myself, because I can be a little non-confrontational. Right. I can smile and laugh like that wasn't funny, and what I've learned is to have some courage, to say ouch, or to say, I love what you said. Are you talking about someone in particular? Right? Yeah. These are techniques of how to engage or interact humor, and then how to diffuse bad humor that can be disruptive rather than productive.
Right. Excellent. They say use, just like Duran said, use humor to lift people up, not put them down. Don't laugh at people, laugh with people. And I think that is so beautiful, man, when we are all laughing together. Man, the energy around that, either in your own workplace here recently or with a client, where people were really just having a good, robust laughter that everybody was participating in.
Eric, I had a call 2 weeks ago with through a referral with a potential client in Colorado.
Okay.
They set up a call. It was a Zoom call. And I took a look at the emails and saw there were going to be about 6 or 7 people. The owner of the call, the organizer, had an outstanding sense of humor. Literally within 1 minute of the call, all of us were laughing as if we've known each other for 30 years. Mm. It was phenomenal, right? I'm jumping and I'm laughing. We're leaning back. We're on Zoom. Folks are adjusting their cameras. We were laughing so much that the organizer had said, "Oh, okay, all right, people. What are we here for?" Right? We talked about what we were here for. We kind of rushed through that because the relationship and the trust building was already done, and we just got to tacticals. Listen, we're looking to do this in August. 3 rollouts. Here's one of the concerns. Here's another concern. Okay, all right. Listen, back to the joke. Here's what was happening. It was hilarious, and we spent another 15 minutes trying to out joke one another. This was the first time that half of the people were meeting because there was another third party that was involved because they were doing another part. Man, I said this is what life and working should be like, right? Really connecting from a human perspective. And I know for me, uh, I have trust, Eric, and what it does for me too. I absolutely want to exceed their expectations.
Right.
They see that I have a sense of humor. I'm human. I see them too. But with the work, trust me, at the end of the day, this hard work, we're going to be laughing. And I'm going to make sure that we are laughing in joy and victory because of the expertise I'm going to bring. Because you all let me know that, right, you're human. Right. That's the experience I had just 2 weeks ago with the organization out in Colorado.
That's excellent, man. Let me see if I got a couple more here. Use your humor to make people feel more comfortable rather than more awkward. Gags and practical jokes should only be used when those on the receiving end find them funny.
Yep.
Ooh, man, you misread that one. So understand that this is a tall order, and that if your gags and practical jokes, I'm not big on any of that, generally, not at all, unless I know somebody just loves them, and then it's still going to be something. I'm not just thinking about that person. I'm still thinking about the rest of the audience, and that at the end of the day, this practical joke should still be kind of respectful.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about you getting them and their buy-in if you lose the rest of the audience. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, Eric, I think this is a really interesting point because, one person's joke or practical joke is another person's embarrassment. Right. And sometimes that embarrassment creates a story in their mind, a schema that will last well after the joke. That embarrassment. Right. I'll give you an example very quickly. I'm not a singer. I don't have a singing voice at all. Sure, I love to sing in my private times, but I'm not a singer. Maybe 40 years ago, I was tremendously embarrassed by karaoke, being forced to sing karaoke. And karaoke really means tone deaf, right? And everybody was having fun and laughing at the people that can't sing. And I'm like, I can't sing. I'm a speaker. I know how to articulate, but I'm not a singer at all. Go ahead. I got pushed up there, peer pressure, and I was embarrassed awfully. And years later, I did it again in a particular relationship, and I was embarrassed. And everyone was laughing at me, not with me. I wasn't laughing with them. And I learned early on that I don't like practical jokes that could potentially embarrass other people.
That's right, Tommy.
Yep.
Tommy, I don't do sarcasm. Yep. I don't do practical jokes. I don't do, let's see if we can. No. I'm listening to the plot line. Nothing about that sounds funny.
Nothing about it.
Just a cut, Nix.
Eric said he listened to the plot line. Let me see. Nope.
What are you doing?
It all knows.
Let's see. Don't use humor to single someone out. Use it to help them acclimate to an environment. I like that, Tommy. I think that humor should come with humility and kindness. That there should be an element of it that's kind too, man. Mean-spirited humor serves no place in the workplace.
Yeah, I've used humor at times where, for example, with if I haven't yet in person, if I meet Terry Cooley, I understand he's a man's man. He has he has some size to him, right? For me, Eric, I'm a big man in a little man's body. Okay. All right. So I'm 5'11", 5'11 and a half. I'm about 200 pounds. I don't even look like I weigh that much. But I know that when I am engaged with folks that I can measure and they're big people, right? I will say something, right, that may be, kind of a threat, and then no, don't stand up now. I'm just, hey, I'm just playing, brother. I'm just playing, right? And it's not to ostracize or embarrass. It's to kind of call out with some sensitivity what we observe. If someone is 6'10", 250 pounds with 10% body fat, right? Muscles galore, that's a big man, as if they don't know it, right? So I'm not going to make fun at them being big.
Right.
I'm going to make fun at me being small
Right.
against them, or even me, even around smart people. Like I need some help because I know I'm not the smartest person in here.
Right.
Now I can be with you, Deron Hunter, right? This brother here, funny guy. He's a legend, right?
Right.
Football legend in Southwest Ohio, if not Ohio, back in the day. If you ask him, he can probably still think he can do the same things today that he did back in '77.
Now, I just talked to him yesterday. He ain't feeling that way right now. We have finally crossed over.
We've crossed over. Brother Deron is a beautiful, beautiful brother. And so that's how we use humor.
Right. And I want to say to our community, keep laughing. Find ways to laugh together. Laughter is food for the soul. It's a beautiful thing when we're enjoying each other and we're not using humor to hurt people. And so I'm glad that we had a chance to have a conversation about this today.
I am too.
Because politically, people are acting as though, we've lost our sense of humor. No, we actually are elevating our expectations of the workplace and saying that racism, sexism, classism, those things are not heterosexism. Those things are not appropriate in the workplace. If you thought in the old days that was, we used to have more fun, well, no, some people were having fun at other people's expenses. So, calibrating our workplaces so that we're respectful is a good thing. But none of that means that we have to lose our ability to laugh together, starting by being able to laugh at myself and some of the crazy things that I do that just make a mess of life. As I laugh at myself, I make it easier for other people to relate to me, connect with me, and be able to laugh at themselves as well. Yeah. Tommy, from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, I've enjoyed being with you and our community, and we'll see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat station for another diversity conversation. Take care now.